Welcome to another Real Estate with Wendy podcast. Today we're going to talk about contracts. These are things that we all need in our lives, especially as an investor, as a property manager, as a landlord. So I brought a bunch of contracts with me today, and I'm going to go through each and every one of them, and I'm going to describe what I used them for, when I used them, that sort of thing. So we already went over options contracts, options agreements. Now let's go on to the assignment of purchase and sale agreement. When you write up a purchase and sale agreement, and let's say, for example, you're all wholesalers just like I am. So you go out and you're in the world and you find a property, you lock it up under contract because you know you've got yourself one heck of a deal. It's not in your neighborhood, so maybe you can't do it right now, or you don't, you just don't feel like it. But you have this other friend, and for a price, you can assign it to them. They will then buy the property and you will get the fee, the assignment fee, in order for exchanging it out of your name and into theirs. So that's going to be this particular contract, assignment of purchase and sale. Another one that I use all the time is a rental application. It's a 3-page rental thing, and it just goes over all of the things that as a landlord or a property manager, you're going to need to know about your prospective tenants. It has, of course, the authorization to pull the background check, the security credit check, and any other checks that you need to pull against them, whether it be been verified or rent spree or otherwise. And there's lots of ways that you can vet these, but again, the application is the way to start. If you're going to do buy and hold and you're going to have tenants in your life, you're going to need to familiarize yourself with a good application. Not only a good application, but knowing how to process it properly and how to vet your tenants properly before they ever get the keys to your house is paramount. There's just nothing more important. Okay, then the next contract that we have is going to be a lease for residential property. This is a very, very long contract. It covers all sorts of crazy scenarios. Let me see, how many pages is this? It is 12 pages. So it covers what happens if the owner defaults, what happens if the tenant defaults, how much the rent is, when it's due by, is there a grace period, what happens if it's not paid in full by this date or that date. Anything you can imagine, all of the scenarios that I've ever even thought about are covered in this. Once you get your tenants approved and vetted properly, then the next step is going to be to getting them to sign the lease with you and getting everything official. Another very important one is going to be the move-in inspection and the move-out inspection. Move-in and move-out are two more very important things that a property manager or an owner is going to need in order to make sure that they haven't missed anything when they're evaluating the property, both before the tenants move in and after. Now, to go along with these pieces of paper, I like to have pictures of the condition of the property upon move-in. Like right before they get there, I snap pictures of every single thing, both inside and outside the property, all the way around. Every single thing, every closet, every scuff on the wall, everything, every stain, everything. So I take pictures of everything both before, I take pictures of everything after at the move out stage as well. And along with pictures, I do videos. It's not just pictures these days, it's also about videos. For example, I like to talk as I'm walking through and make comments on things that maybe the camera or the video didn't pick up as well. And it's not until I get closer and I zoom in and then I explain, oh, the tenant did this, or oh, here's how this happened, or this is blah, blah, blah. You get the explanations of things that if you don't put it in video, maybe you forget. And maybe by the time it comes to the end, you wouldn't have had that documented. To go along with the paperwork trail, you definitely need pictures and videos. Next up, let me take a look at the next contract. We have a lease of purchase agreement. The lease to go with a lease purchase agreement is a separate contract than a regular lease contract. The one that goes with the purchase and sale says it goes with the purchase and sale, and you have to have a purchase and sale with it. Again, if it's a lease purchase, you're going to have that purchase and sale contract with it already. If you're doing a lease with an option to purchase, you may already have the purchase and sale printed up and ready. It's just not activated yet. And in most cases these days, they'll want you to go ahead and print that up and have that on the side so that you can refer one to the other. I have just recently had to put this particular contract into my file. Never had need of it before, but suddenly I have a new owner. He owns multiple properties, and I, of course, manage now his multiple properties. Well, the very first one that he introduced me to was the pool house, which this particular property, has a pool. So, of course, I told him, I'm going to have to print out, I'm going to have to get the documents that cover this pool and say where the liability lies regarding the pool, especially once the tenants move in. They need to make sure that they understand that they are now liable for this pool and whatever happens while they have the ownership or the leaseship of the property. So that's a very important one. If you have pools that are on your property or on one that you manage. Another one is just the straight up purchase and sale agreement. When I'm wholesaling, when I'm out there, buying properties for me or for anyone else, one of the main things that I need is the purchase and sale agreement. I like to have these with me at all times, again, because you never know when you're going to need it. You never know when you're going to drive up on something. I'm here to tell you, this happened to me. I was on a rehab property with an investor. We were rehabbing everything, getting it ready to rent out, and we decided we're hungry, we go to lunch. Well, on the way to lunch, hey, wait a minute, I see this property over here. Oh, I love this house. Oh, I love this area. Hey, can you get me in, Wendy? Yes, Wendy's a realtor. Wendy has a super key. Wendy can get in. I decided to stop the vehicle. Of course, he sees the property. He loves it. He's like, oh my gosh, I have to have this property. Oh, I have to have it. Of course, do I have property contracts for purchase and sale on me? Yes, of course I do. And again, if you're ever on the fly, you'll need them too. That's one that I have with me at all times. Okay, our next one is the option leased to purchase property. Okay, so just like with the option agreement, sometimes the option that you're exercising has somebody who is already in the property, is already tenanted out and living there. If that is the case, then instead of just a standard option contract, you would use one of these because you're doing an option on something that is already or currently leased. Again, there's just a slight difference there, and to make it more protected for you, just use the right contract. Notice to exercise the tenant or the buyer's option to purchase. So if you're doing a lease with the option to purchase instead of a straight up lease purchase, then when you decide in whatever time frame the lease purchase contract says that you can, then you would go ahead and transfer from one to the other using this contract. So the notice that you're going to switch it off from being just a lease now to your purchasing. Now you're going to be paying the down payment. Now you're going to be exercising these other rights. You have to use this piece of paper in order to do that. So when you're using all these fancy contracts, you need other contracts to go with those as well. All right. Do you have any questions, Gene?
So my question is, do I really need a contract, like specifically the options contract? When you went into that verbal agreement with your grandfather, you probably didn't have a contract, or did you?
Absolutely, because even back then I was in real estate and I knew that in order to do things the legal way, especially the closing attorneys, man, they're going to want to see this documentation. They're not going to just let things fly. They're going to tell you, write it down. Put it on a piece of paper. You better do something because we have to see this chain and see what is happening in order to have a legal, clean sale. So yes, it is something that you do need contracts. And some people don't even realize that they need them. In fact, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a real estate agent. I don't need contracts, Wendy. You can just give me the contracts when I need contracts. And yes, I can do that. I find myself giving my friends and my family contracts like all the time. I can think of different people that just, again, here recently call me up or say, hey, could you do this contract for me? Could you do that contract for me? And sometimes, not always, purchase and sale. Some of these are just options, or some of these are sometimes just pre-foreclosures. Sometimes they're just small loans, not even real estate loans, but personal loans. Again, you never know when you're going to need a simple contract. And if you already have them printed out, it makes it much easier for you on the fly. I've noticed in my dealings as a investor trying to grow her business, but the times that I've needed them and used them when I had them have far outweighed the times that I have said, oh shoot, I don't have a contract on me. Or there have been 1 or 2 times that I missed out on deals, in fact, because I didn't have a contract on me. And somebody swooped in and got it before I could even get back with a contract. It was that hot of a deal. And with these hot deals like this, oh yes, it is imperative that you lock it in before somebody else does. Once it's locked in, you can scream the address from the mountaintops. Nobody can steal it from you. You definitely want to at least have one copy of the contracts, have it in your car, maybe stick it somewhere where you know how to get to it real quick. Otherwise, you might miss out on some of those deals that wholesalers and investors, we get these because we have all of our tools in the tool belt before we go out into the world. I don't leave the house without my tools.
So can we go back to some basics?
What kind of basics do you mean?
Well, the podcast is old enough now that I've had some friends comment, and one of the comments that keeps coming is that some of the terms are over their heads. And I guess because you and I talked about this for weeks before you started the podcast, actually recording it, I guess some of those terms got defined for me. So there are a few terms, I don't know, I'm sure some people who are listening are well-versed, but maybe half the population are not. So I don't know, like wholesale, I don't know, driving for dollars. Right? I mean, I think you've defined that one, actually. I don't think we have to go over that one again. I know one time in one podcast you said something about a wholesale deal, and you said they weren't even calling it wholesaling back then. So let's start with that one. Can you define wholesale?
A wholesale deal in my industry is pretty much the same thing as what you're thinking about when you think of wholesale. So it's something that is at a discount. It is not full price. Say, for example, you're going to the outlets and they have the same stuff that you would buy in the stores, only they have it slightly imperfect or it's in huge bulk and it didn't sell well in the retail spaces. So now it's come over here to the outlet stores. Wholesale is similar to that. It is where you're not paying full price. Oftentimes, these properties that are getting wholesaled are in various stages of disrepair. Some of them just horrendously crazy and you would think need to be torn down. And then others just need some decent rehabbing. But again, wholesale is not full price. It is discounted. It is like going to your local wholesale place. There's a wholesale place down in town, far, far south of me. And I go there for parts and materials for my remodels because they have wholesale items such as sinks and countertops and cabinets and things that you're redoing your house with. They have them. Some of them are brand new, never been used. Some of them are maybe gently used. Price varies according to how new they are and how gently, you know what I mean? If it was smacked up at the warehouse, maybe it wasn't used, or it's still new, but it's beat up. These are wholesale things, and that's the same thing with real estate.
I've purchased a refrigerator with a good scuff on the back before at a discount, so
yes,
that's the answer.
That's the answer. That's a wholesale refrigerator versus a retail refrigerator. Now, let's move on to some more definitions. You had brought up driving for dollars and said that we had described that. I'll do it one more time for maybe someone who didn't hear that particular podcast. Driving for dollars is when you're out there in the world, you're going to the grocery store, you're going to church, you're going to see your friend, you're going to work, you're going and to and from wherever you're going. And in the midst of going to those places, you see a property. Maybe it's on your way to work. Maybe it's on your way to wherever. You see it and it's got high grass, or maybe it has boarded up windows. There's definitely no one living there. The mail is just crammed in the mailbox. There's many, many signs of a good possible wholesale deal. Again, you have to drive around in the world to find these deals. Oftentimes, you can't do it sitting in your house. Sometimes you can look on the internet and find these guys. But again, you're going to have to go out in the world, even if you find something online, And you're going to have to eventually go and drive and see it in real life. And while you're doing that, you're driving for dollars. That's basically what it is. The dollars comes in where you're trying to make your way in the investing in real estate world. You're driving around, you're trying to find these properties. You're looking for the deals and hopefully finding them and hopefully locking them up and hopefully either keeping them, fix and flip, doing the buy and hold, renting them out, whatever it is that you're doing with them. While you're out there doing it, you're driving for dollars because that's what's going to make you your empire. That's what's going to create your portfolio. That's where you're going to get your money from. So you're driving to get those dollars to start you out in your path. That's driving for dollars. Okay, the next one is going to be on-market and off-market deals. And I say this a lot, an on-market deal, an off-market deal. What's the difference? What does that mean? So something that is on-market is on the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. So here in Georgia, it's the GAMLS, Georgia MLS, Multiple Listing Service. And you'll find all of your deals that are on market on the GAMLS, the Georgia MLS website. Anything that's publicly listed, it's on that website. An off-market deal is not going to be on that website. It's not going to be on the MLS. It's not going to be in the hands of a realtor. It's going to be in the hands of an owner. An off-market deal won't be on that MLS website and probably not on any website. Sometimes you can find an off-market deal on like a for sale by owner website, sometimes on Marketplace or on Craigslist, something of that nature. But oftentimes they're not even listed anywhere online. They're just sitting out there and no one knows about them. So the next is option. So an option is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You're not doing the thing, you're not buying the house, but you want an option to buy the house. You want to perhaps in the future exercise this piece of paper, this option that says that if the house should become up for sale, you are the one who gets the first chance to buy it. That's an option or an option contract. Another one I get asked a lot is JV. What is a JV deal? What is a JV partnership? A JV is a joint venture. That means that you're partnering up with someone else, and as we've discussed in the past, you are hoping to find someone who they bring strengths to your weaknesses and you bring strengths to their weaknesses. When you partner up, you can work together more effectively and help each other to succeed and make more money together. Those are the type of joint ventures that I like to do. Another one we have is the short sale. We have pre-foreclosures and we have short sales. A pre-foreclosure is before the foreclosure process. A foreclosure is a deal where the homeowner defaults on their loan, their mortgage. They become so in default that the bank rips the house out from under them and forecloses, which means that they are now out of the house and the house belongs to the bank. In these cases, sometimes the bank will accept a short sale from someone or another, either before or after the foreclosure process happens, in order to stop this from going any further. And oftentimes, in fact, I think every time, they do it for less money. So let's say, for example, if the mortgage is $100,000 is owed. Let's say the short sale that you negotiate with the bank would be for $70,000, and you'd be buying the house. They would be changing the note. Now $100,000 is not owed. Now they're doing a new loan with you, and the amount will be for $70,000. That is a short sale. It's for less money than the bank even owes, which is what makes short sales a great idea for investors. Okay, so the next one is, I already explained a little bit, foreclosure. A foreclosure is when you default on your property, you owe money, many months worth of payments, and they have not been made. They, of course, are not going to be made, and the bank has to foreclose, taking out a lien and going to the courthouse and foreclosing on the property in order to get it back. And now it is not owned by the person who originally owned it. Now it's owned by the bank. That would be a foreclosure. And those foreclosures, they happen at the courthouse steps, just like the tax auction. And either someone buys that foreclosure or the bank buys it back, one of the two. The next one is going to be a lien. I talk about these all the time too. A lien on the property. The tax lien is going to create an auction. Mechanics lien, if you don't pay for your contractors, they can put a lien on your property, making it impossible to sell that property until the lien is paid. The lien must be paid upon transfer of title. Let's say, for example, this particular property is Joe Blow. He decides he wants to have his roof done. A tree fell and hit his house, and now he needs to call the contractor. Roofer comes out, and he does his roof. Well, Mr. Man did not have any money to pay the guy, and I guess the guy can't get up there and get his dudes to rip the roof back off again, so he puts a lien on the house. That lien will need to be renewed every 12 months until that lien is paid in full. That's what a lien is, though. It is an official recording through the courthouse of someone owing money to someone else, either another person or a company. Okay, so lastly, we have a deed. And there are lots of different types of deeds. I'm only going to get into a few today because there are just so many and it gets convoluted. A deed is something that you receive when you purchase a house. You may receive a general warranty deed. You may receive a specialized warranty deed. You may receive a quitclaim deed. You may receive a security deed. A security deed is something that is when you get a mortgage on your house, the mortgage company will file a security deed, and it secures the position of them being in control of the house. If you don't pay for the mortgage, if you don't pay for that house, then that gives them the ability to foreclose on you and take it back. The security deed is something that's very important to look for on properties to see if they're owned outright or if they have mortgages on them, and if so, for how much. When you're doing things like short sales, these come into play. A quitclaim deed is something like if grandma wants to give her property to her grandson and she just wants to simply sign it over for love and affection, then she might do a quitclaim deed only through family. This is not something that just anybody can go out and do. I wouldn't want to do it between me and my friend because we're not blood related. Quitclaim deeds are generally reserved for family members and for inheritance type situations. I think that's about all I have for today. I'm run out of knowledge. Well, those were a few terms that I just defined. But if you want anything else that you hear during the podcast defined, then just send me an email to realestatewendypodcast@gmail.com. That's realestatewendypodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's all we can do for today, guys. But thank you so much for listening to another Real Estate with Wendy podcast.